Hello and welcome to this Serial Geek TV episode commentary for Fright, an episode of the Real Ghostbusters produced by Geek. This episode, oddly, I vaguely recall seeing it when it aired over here in the UK on September the 12th, 1988. And before any Americans are shocked by this date, yes, the Real Ghostbusters was shown a good year and a half, 2 years after it first debuted in the United States. One reason I may not recall this episode all that well is because at the time my education was about to change rather dramatically. I was going from junior school to secondary school, so basically I had just turned 11 years old and was heading to the big scary school. I was actually one of the youngest in my year, and so most of my classmates would have been 12 years of age. The week prior, on September the 5th, 1988, the very first day of secondary school, The Bird of Kildarby aired. I remember coming home from school that first scary day and watching that episode. So this episode, Fright, aired the following Monday. But as I say, I don't recall watching it. And I must stress, that's not because this episode is dull or anything like that. Far from it. I would say that for me, this episode is just outside of my top 10 list of episodes for The Real Ghostbusters. Fright, written by Arthur Byron Cover and Lydia Morano. This pair worked very sporadically on a bunch of animated cartoons from the 1980s and 1990s, such as Bionic 6, Beverly Hills Teens, Phantom 2040, Spider-Man, Gargoyles. They did pen another wonderful script of The Real Ghostbusters too, with the syndicated episode Who's Afraid of the Big Bad Ghost, an episode with a very touching ending, to be honest. Great little sing-along here with the Ghostbusters in fine voice. And here's one of my favourite Peter Venkman gags in the series.
Enemy ship off the starboard bow. Prepare to fire.
Never say fire to a secretary, Winston. Remember, she knows where all the checks are.
I also adore the directing of that scene. We see Winston's point of view looking at Janine, with our favourite Brooklynite looking back somewhat perplexed, as it cuts back to Peter looking in the direction of Janine as he finishes his sentence. Really lovely work. And that's something to talk about. For the most part, the visuals of this episode are absolutely gorgeous, by the same studio that worked on the episode Knock Knock, Asia Do Animation Works. One of my favourite aspects about their style is the look of the character faces, especially how expressive the eyes often are. The characters aren't as heroic looking as we have seen in episodes by Ashi Productions, but I would have been very content had the series featured this style throughout. Alas, it did not. Now listen to the captain's voice.
Don't let the fog spook you, sailor. Sound the horn and watch that radar screen.
Maybe some of you may recognise those somewhat familiar tones. It's the voice of Jack Angel, who probably fans of 1980s animation will know as the voice of Ultra Magnus and Astro Train, amongst others, in the Transformers. He worked on many shows for many decades and also a lot of voice work in animated movies too. Jack also voices the very, very memorable villain in this episode too, but we'll get to him soon.
Look at the holes in that thing.
I don't know.
I've already talked about the visuals. One thing this episode excels in more than most, especially when it comes to these dock-based areas, are the backgrounds. They are wonderfully illustrated and really create a sense of depth, as well as the buildings in the distance painted lighter at the bottom as if to show the mist sitting just atop the water. Regardless, it creates a wonderful atmosphere, as does Shuki Levy's music throughout, which, to be honest, I do not praise enough for this series. Shuki Levy took what the legendary Elmer Bernstein had composed for the original movie and made it his own iconic soundtrack, which most definitely paid homage to the original. It would be nice if that at some point in the future someone could uncover Shuki Levy's music for this series and release it. And here's something that may surprise you. That evil parrot? Who do you think provides the vocal effects? 9 times out of 10, yes, it would be Frank Welker, but on this occasion it's actually Maurice LaMarche. I just love how this episode creates such mystery. Yes, we've seen a ghost ship, but no crew. We're just as in the dark as the Ghostbusters themselves, but yes, in a few seconds, we're about to be introduced to the crew of the ghost ship.
Arr, shiver me timbers. These be four men who aren't afraid of ghosts.
Yes, Captain Jack Higgins. You want to talk about a fan favourite ghost character? My goodness. This is one ghost that should have somehow returned in the series. Hey, Hollywood, if you're watching and want to make yet another live-action Ghostbusters, just use Jack Higgins. This villain is an absolute scene stealer. And yes, Jack Higgins is voiced by Jack Angel, who excels in this role under the voice direction of my dear friend Marshall Goodman. The characters, the various ghost pirates aboard the ship whom we meet, are all given little personalities, and you'd think that their skeletal designs would be rather off-putting, but the animators give such comedy to these characters, you can't help but kind of love them. I've told this anecdote before, but it's worth repeating as it relates to this episode. Back in 2022, I stumbled upon and was able to acquire some concept artwork from the Collect Call of Cthulhu. I'm friends with Gabby Payne, who was pretty much the lead character designer on the Real Ghostbusters. I thought I'd send the artwork to Gabby to see if she could recall the artist. Gabby's response was excited, revealing that the illustrations were actually her own work. And so I sent huge scans to Gabby so that she could once again kind of own the artwork. A short while after sending Gabby the artwork, I stumbled across her beautiful concept illustration for Captain Jack Higgins, and so I sent her a scan of that too. As I said, just in these shots you can see that the pirates each have their own differing appearances. Yes, the Japanese animators may have had free will to design random background characters, but I can imagine, going by what I know for large groups of characters and what I know about outsourced animation, that a piece of artwork was created with a group of pirate ghosts, all sporting random designs. I also love the setup here for the first confrontation between the Ghostbusters and the pirates. And again, look at the artwork here of the pirate ship. It's fantastic. It's not overly rendered or overly saturated. Everything is just perfect. And be sure to look at the Ghostbusters, the little blinks, small touches that add to the realism of such an unrealistic scene. Again, look at the way Ray Stantz is illustrated and animated in the close-up. It's so nice to look at. So yeah, here, Ray Stantz, of course knowledgeable in the world of maritime, having recognised the ship, immediately knows who its captain was or is. Okay, so now I'm about to point out a flaw in a visual for this episode. We're going to see the Ghostbusters fire their proton guns, a moment in an episode that we all love, right? However, be sure to look at the size of their heads. They're all illustrated slightly smaller than usual, and thus the Ghostbusters all look slightly overweight. As a kid, I actually recorded the audio of this particular scene onto a cassette just so I could have the sound of the proton beams to hand for whenever I would play Ghostbusters.
We'll make sawdust out of that shit. Fire!
We'll actually see the small-headed Ghostbusters again as they scramble for cover. Oh, and that truck driver that hilariously flays, if you go and check the episode Venkman's Ghost Repellers, he actually makes a little appearance in that episode too, in another scene that takes place by the docks. And of course, I've already covered that great Richard Mueller episode in a commentary on this very channel. Oh, one thing I should point out before I forget, this episode was released by Magic Window via their Hollywood Nights brand in the United Kingdom in early 1989. This episode was released on Volume 6 alongside another episode from the syndicated season, the visually bad but hilariously written Adventures in Slime and Space. In the UK, 10 volumes were released on VHS, each with 2 episodes on. The first 2 volumes were pretty much the same episodes released by Magic Window in the United States. After that, the UK released a lot of random episodes, but very good ones such as Ragnarok and Roll. I've never thought about this until now, but maybe it would be worth me making a video one day detailing all of the episodes released to home video of the Real Ghostbusters. As I say this, I genuinely have no idea what episodes were released around the world, aside from the UK and the US. Educate me, people, tell me, what episodes did you get on VHS? And the ghosts rather easily overpower the Ghostbusters, making the confrontation a surprisingly short one. Oh, now watch the lovely visuals here as the ship rises from the water and disappears into New York City. It's incredibly well done. Again, look at all of these pirate designs. You can almost imagine how they were when they were, alive and had skin.
Let's go get him. And for a change...
Now, Act 1 comes to an end, but listen to the opening of Act 2. There's a lovely little treat for film fans. Yeah, if you listen carefully, you can hear Maurice LaMarche performing a little Dustin Hoffman from Midnight Cowboy. I'm walking here. It's such a great little touch, and something I never clocked until I saw Midnight Cowboy in the early 2000s. These scenes showing the pirate ship hovering over the people of New York is great. What I love is that the ship is only hovering a short distance above them. I feel that it's more imposing than having the ship as high up as the tip of the skyscrapers. You need the people of Manhattan to really feel this ghostly threat. So having the ship hover so low, I think, does the job beautifully. Amusing little happy nod here by Captain Jack Higgins. I do love the odd relationship between the villain and the parrot, with Jack very much hating the presence of the bird. You get the impression that their ghostly spirits are tied together, hence why Jack cannot get rid of the creature as much as he tries. I can't quite put my finger on it, but I've always loved this scene of the Ghostbusters in Ecto 1. I think because it's well directed, but because also there's a lot that happens with Ray realising the connection between the sudden appearance of the ghost ship and the recent discovery of the chest by Max Palopoulos.
Treasure at the Maritime Museum. The gold doubloons found by Max Palopoulos.
That realisation by the legendary Frank Welker voicing Ray is incredibly well acted. It's not over the top, it's Ray getting his head around recent events and putting it all together. It feels like a very in-control Ray stance rather than the excitable one we're often used to.
Slimer!
Now this scene is a little odd. We're over halfway through the episode and now we get Slimer rather randomly show up. I think this is one of those episodes that did not, for 1 second, require the little green ghost to make an appearance. Why is he here? Yes, we'll see him contribute in a way towards the end of the episode, but it's not story changing or anything like that. This scene is great, with one pirate sounding a bit like Jack Nicholson. It's amusing that the pirates believe that the cowboys' clearly atrocious, gaudy clothing, yes, even for the 1980s, to be a thing of great attraction.
Just what do you think you're doing? Ow! Oh!
There's a lot of lovely comedy animation here, with a great sequence showing one ghost pirate wearing the cowboys' clothing. Well, save the hat anyway. Look at that pose, it's great. And we're going to get a payoff to this seemingly innocent gag here, in which one pirate ditches his old hat for the new one.
Ma was right.
Now, listen to this.
There be maidens who aren't afraid of pirates.
Oh, how long it's been since what? It's been so long I can't remember.
That's such a wonderful piece of dialogue that I think it went over every kid's head watching the show. But a line that adults would appreciate. The ghost is obviously talking about being intimate with a woman, but as he says, it's been so long I can't remember. And again, their personalities are showcased briefly, but their designs and voices really do shape them rather wonderfully. Now, remember when I mentioned about there being a payoff to the pirate stealing the hat of the cowboy? Well, it's about to happen, as those three pirates return to the ship with their booty, only for Captain Jack Higgins to guilt trip, though threaten, that poor pirate. His one piece of treasure gone just like that.
So it's jewels you found, eh? And nothing for your captain, lad. Thank you, lad.
But again, visually, it's hilarious to see this ancient pirate, the villain of the piece, Captain Jack Higgins, sporting a gaudy, bright, yellow, modern cowboy hat.
Your fill onto the real treasure.
Oh, the Maritime Museum. So I actually own the development artwork for this building and the ship next to it, and it is beautiful. I scanned it in as soon as I obtained it. I really should showcase my animation art collection from this series at some point, along with all the other pieces I've acquired since the late 90s. Maybe I could turn that into a series. And now we're about to meet Max Palopoulos, who, as Ray innocently describes, seems like a great guy in his press clippings. Oh, Ray.
You can't just go around borrowing exhibits just because there's an emergency. Now, please, leave and don't return until you've gone through channels.
So, much like Jack Angel, we have yet another uncredited voice actor in this episode, Burton Sharp as Max Palopoulos, a character I kind of wish we had seen a little bit more of in this episode. He will turn up again briefly, but I do think him having a bit more of a notable role in the episode, or heck, even making a return appearance, would have been good. He kind of strikes me as a Walter Peck type. And so, we're about to see that Egon Spengler has a plan.
I think we could work up a pretty sneaky ambush in these surroundings, don't you?
And what I love is that it's not very Egon Spengler-like, an ambush aboard a ship. That said, these moments when Egon does something un-Egon-like, they make for much entertainment in the episode. Wait a minute, actually, I was literally just about to reference an episode in which Egon does something un-Egon-like, another episode, swinging on a chandelier in the episode Who's Afraid of the Big Bad Ghost, written by Arthur Byron Cover and Lydia Morano, the writers of this very episode we're watching. So I guess 1, they liked Egon being un-Egon-like, and 2, they really liked characters swinging on things, as you shall soon see. And yes, Slimer is suddenly back. His inclusion feels so unnecessary, but we are about to see a fun action scene. And I'm sure others have pointed this out before, but I'm not sure restored ships, ancient relics, delicate and preserved, would still house live ammunition.
Fire!
Even though I don't think Slimer needs to be in this episode, the gag and visual of him being fired from a cannon grasping a cannonball is rather hilarious. There's a rather odd piece of animation coming up here as Peter and Ray converse as to what their next move will be. Ray seems to be unable to control the proton gun. It's really quite odd. Look at him go. I'm not entirely sure what the plan was there visually. I don't think it works that well. I believe there's a deleted piece of audio here. If you go back and look, Winston from the crow's nest leans over and all the ghosts head towards him. But if you carefully examine the animation, Winston is animated on 2 cells, as if he's drawing their attention by whistling. So that's what I'm going with. Winston whistled at the pirates. And yes, I mentioned it before, these 2 writers definitely had something for their characters swinging on something in an episode. I wonder if any of their other 1980s animation scripts have characters swinging on something. And now we're back with Slimer and the parrots. I will admit, it is an amusing use of Slimer, but it really does make him feel like the sidekick to the Ghostbusters, which, as I've mentioned before, the syndicated season really tried to avoid. I always like the easily missed line in which Captain Jack Higgins says, "Follow those birds," in relation to the parrot and Slimer. Like, he cannot even begin to fathom what Slimer even is. The arrogant and clearly narcissistic Max Palopoulos is about to get his comeuppance of sorts. There's a great little visual of Captain Jack Higgins and his motley crew phasing through the wall. It's a really nice shot of the main core cast of pirates. I'd actually love to own a cell of that. I do love how Slimer and the parrot immediately stop fighting, and Slimer's farewell to the Ghost Pirates is perfectly acted by Frank Welker, of course. There's a single frame error here involving animation cell layering. As Captain Jack Higgins holds the gold doubloons, you'll see his beard appear over the treasure, and you can see in that frame that the artists, understandably, weren't illustrating all of his beard, as there was no reason to, as it was to be hidden by the doubloons. And now, in an odd twist, I guess, with the pirates now separated from their ship, the Ghostbusters are able to zap and trap the giant spiritual vessel. This all feels like a very odd conclusion to the episode. Not that I think the episode falters or that the pirates should be aware of this weakness, but it really feels as if there should have been some sort of realization from the Ghostbusters, a brief discussion, a scene or two earlier, in which it is revealed that if they can separate the pirates from their ship and trap said ship, they can, in essence, trap and contain all of the pirate ghosts too. It just feels like our heroes execute this plan without much thought given into telling the audience what is happening. And poor old Captain Jack Higgins, a very memorable and awesome antagonist, but, as we're about to see, forever contained in the containment unit with that bloody parrot. So yeah, this episode has quite a very sudden conclusion. Not only that, the episode itself wraps up very quickly, with Ray Stantz realising that Max Palopoulos is a bit of a doof, and the Ghostbusters seen treating Slimer to an ice cream. Now, sadly, I've never seen the script to this episode, but it does feel like the last few minutes were heavily rewritten or edited in order to end the episode. And just like that, Fright comes to an end. As I said at the beginning, I really like this episode a lot. Whilst not in my top 10, it probably would feature in my top 20. I believe that the pace of the episode is really good, well, until the last minute or so. And yeah, Captain Jack Higgins and his motley crew are just an awesome bunch of foes for the Ghostbusters to battle. And that's the end of this episode commentary. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please be sure to like, share and subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next one.